Hello everybody, welcome to the sound test room. Today we are taking a look at the Fabfilter Pro L2 mastering limiter. So it's the new version, upgraded, updated from the other version, the Pro L. It's a marvelous thing. So what I'm going to do, I've got this track here. This is an unmastered version of a track from the last Doug and Colin album. So there's lots of, it's like progressive, electronic progressive rock type thing. But there's lots of different, peaks and things, and it's very dynamic in its range sort of thing, so it's good for this kind of thing. Okay, also, the only thing on this is a Pro Q, which we added some EQ. That's all right. And I've got me, where is it? Oh, here we go. My volume fader set just below 0, and we can close that now. And I'm going to add over here in the mastering output, the master channel output, I shall put in the Pro L2. So differences, first of all, we have different settings now. If we open advanced here, there have been 4 new styles: aggressive, modern, bus, and safe. Bus is good if you want to use the L2 on a track or on a one of the subgroups or something like that. You know, safe mode, will cancel, pretty much stop all distortion. But anyway, we can get into all that as we go along. What else has been added? Now, the ultra useful thing is true peak limiting. What that means is, depending on how your output is set here, if you tap on output, you see it's on 0.0 at the moment. True peak limiting will absolutely capture all peaks in the audio that try to go above 0.0. But I would suggest straight off setting this at like minus or 0.04 or 0.03, something like that. 0.01 at the moment, so 0.04, just to be on the safe side. Because specifically for this video, I'm going to show you how to do it for your, your streaming, which is what most people use, like YouTube, Bandcamp, SoundCloud. SoundCloud's slightly different. They don't kind of limit, but they do decompress to MP3, I think, and it's not. It's so I'd stick with these settings for that as well. I'll also run through some of the other stuff for CD and things and broadcasting. Also, oversampling. Right, oversampling is okay. Oversampling if it's off, right? But when you start to limit, if you start to get little bits of limiting, you do limit. Applying oversampling is probably a good idea if your device can handle a CPC, some of it, 32, they don't even probably do that, just crash it. 16 CPU, very intensive, is intensive as well. But 2.4, that's good. And that will, what we'll do is it'll kind of smooth out any of the any anomalies that may occur in the audio from the peak. So because you are altering, when you start to apply limiting, it changes. You'll get all sorts of what's the word I'm looking for here? I can't remember the word I'm looking for, but you'll get all sorts of transients and stuff that you don't really want, and oversampling helps to sort that out. Again, further on down, we have the output. This is very, very useful, which I'll get into as well. Okay, here we have a true peak switch here. That will just basically, if you just see, that'll switch that where it says INF there. That'll just make that green, and you will be able to see any true peak limiting going on. It doesn't really, you don't really need that on, but you might as well switch it on anyway. Then next to this, we have different display types, okay, which we'll get into as we go, but at the moment it's set on fast mode. And then you have, before that, you have slow down mode, and then slow mode, and then infinity mode. Okay, so there's that there. And then we have our metering now. The metering now is absolutely blisteringly good. You can meter as normal, minus 16 BD, 32 dB, and then you have K-series metering, like was really popular with the loudness wars thing. And then you have this loudness. Use loudness; it's much better. Okay. Once you hit loudness, you get extra metering, and you'll see here where it says minus 14 streaming LUFS. That is the standard streaming levels for YouTube. Anything you go above that, YouTube will reduce your volume, and as will Bandcamp and people like that. This is your standard broadcasting kind of thing, and then another broadcasting standard. Stick with that. Now, bear in mind that these are a target and not a setting. Okay, you're still going to need to drive it up to that or drop it if it goes beyond. Okay, so let's get with this. Let's set this back to where we had it, which was minus 0.3. Oh, wait a sec. You know what? I'll get it right in a minute. There we go. Is it dog, please, what are you doing? There we go. That'll do it. So as we start to play our track, I'll just turn this down while it's playing. A good place to start, right, is to switch on this 1-to-1 here, okay? Because what will happen now is, as I increase the gain to get this up to my minus 14 for the LUFS streaming, it will also decrease. So it will, as I increase the gain, so increase the audio coming into the limiter, it will also decrease the audio that's going out of the limiter. Now, bearing in mind that this is not the actual final thing that you would hear. This is just that so you can hear anything that the limiter is doing while you are making any adjustments. So for instance, as I drive this up now and push this towards my 0.14, you won't hear a change in volume at all. So I've got way too far there, look. Let's close that. And you can see here, we can even go a little bit less than that. So this is a pretty good track, and I'm not limiting at all. Okay, but let's say I push it really hard. Hear that now? That's starting to heavily limit that track. If I go all the way, you can almost hear as much. It's limiting more than half of the track now, but I've got no increase in volume. If I was to switch off the if I was to go to this now and switch that off, it would go mega loud. Okay, so let's take, like, also as well, while we're here, which is a good point to show you this also as well, this little headphone thing here, this will show you the amount, this will show you actually what's been limited. So in theory, it's almost half and half now, so it should almost sound the same. A little bit louder. So I'm actually limiting more than I'm outputting, if you know what I mean. You can see what I'm saying. I'm inputting loads, but I'm limiting more than what's actually coming in. So let's see what happens if we drag this down a little bit. Still a lot of limiting going on there, so, but not as much. Listen. That's the only thing the limiter is doing. A bit more now as the volume increases. So let's drag this down again, and you can see we're way above our target. Anything in red is above that minus 14, and we don't want that, really. And this is probably the loudest part of the track, so we're pretty safe about there, which is good because there's nothing been, so I no need for me to use oversampling on mixdown for this. And then let's go back to the beginning. Let's just start again. Now, if I take out my 1-to-1 now, you'll hear the true output volume. Which is not dissimilar to my actual track level. So let's go to the loudest part. Still going a little bit above, but you know, you can live with that. And I've hardly had to adjust the track. Now, here's the thing. If we wanted a little bit more control, if we go back to our thing, I could say, well, okay, I mean, you know, that's, if I start to drive that fair, it's going to be, you know, I can over limit it, or I can pull it really down so it's really quiet, start it again, and then limit it from there. So you're seeing a little bit more of what's going on. Okay, so now what we can do also is, just as a thing, let's have a look at how far away that is from the kind of loudness wars thing of CDs. Awful thing, just destroyed music basically. I mean, I wouldn't even, oh no, not even on a CD. I think I'd rather have a little bit of dynamic range left. However, there we go. Long way to go on that. I'll drive this in a minute. I'll drive this in a minute when the drums come back in. See how far away we are from our -9. Now along the top there, let's rewind it a little bit. Along the top there you can see we are limiting now for CD, so let's hear exactly what we're going to lose. Not a great deal, but you could also now at this point put some oversampling on it. Okay, so let's have a look at another thing. Let me see now. So I've gone 2 peak to oversample. Don't worry about dithering, you know, unless you're doing a 24-bit file or something like that, or anything higher. Then yeah, you can dither it back down to 16, add a little bit of noise back in. Okay, so we've covered basically. So this DC as well. Also, that is just it's what is it now? It filters the DC from the thing. You wouldn't hear it. I can't hear it. This one here is something I haven't got into, but it's something to do with side chaining for the, if you're doing multiple stems audio, you can side chain each one. Most important thing for us is, like I said, the aim is for -14, so that's where you want to be on your maximum part of your track. Because if you try and set this for the quiet part of your track, and it's okay with dance stuff and EDM and stuff, it's all more or less the same volume, okay? But when you get into sort of classical music, jazz, anything like that, there's loads and loads of different changes, very wide dynamic range. So, you know, you don't want, you want, it's the loudest part that's important for this, okay? Because if you set a low part to that, as soon as it goes over it, YouTube's going to go, oh, look. Or Bandcamp's going to go, look, this is going way, way beyond -14 anyway, so we're going to bring it back down so it just won't sound right, it'll sound compressed. Okay, so let's have a look at metering. Oh, let's just play it. I'm going to show you us as well. There's different settings now. I'll get the volume of the actual, my hardware mixer so you can hear the track, and I'll just jump around a couple of different settings here. Show you something else in a sec as well. progressive, good for electronic. I like modern actually. Bus setting will colour the sound slightly, okay, it'll make it more punchy. Now safe mode, you won't be able to distort the track. You can drive it as hard as you like, but you will get super ultra limiting going on. Hang on. Again, almost the same amount of limiting as there is output. Going to look ahead a little bit so it can detect anything that may be coming up in the next couple of seconds. Now, just a little tiny bit about true peak limiting as well, just to make it more clear. Is like I said here, you can this will set, but if we go all the way back here, right, and we're at like -30 for our true peak. Okay, this is going to sound a lot quieter now, but you're going to see it's not going to go. It's going to be like tripping around here somewhere down the bottom. It's not going to allow this to go past certain points. See, so maybe here. It won't allow it to go past -10 now. That's your absolute limit this will go. So as soon as you go, it starts limiting. So the more of the output you dial back, the more limiting you're gonna get. So let's knock that back up. And we've gone way above our points of streaming services now, and above everything else by the looks of it and all. Okay, so before I go, I think I've covered most things there. Yeah, let's have a look at the display types. Of course, the display types are really going to be your personal preference for how you like to use the limiter. They're not going to make any difference to the sound, but they are very useful. So, I mean, I quite like the mode I'm in now, just fast mode, which is kind of almost normal. Go to slow down mode, it'll jump back now. And then this is slow. And actually infinite, this last mode here, infinite, is quite useful because what it will do is it will build the track like this. Now at that setting there, like that, that's perfect for you. You could now mix that down, and it would be absolutely perfect for streaming. And so metering is so important when it comes to wanting to put your stuff out there without it distorting and clipping. And actually very lucky really with this track, that because the way it is, it's not driving too hard anyway. So to get it up to -14, it's not having to do much of limiting at all, on a finished track. But many tracks, of course, tracks with drums, etc., 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 and lots of like electronic power and things like that, there will be limiting there. So I would suggest if you're getting a little bit of limiting, use a little bit of oversampling, and then it'll sound even smoother. It just gets rid of the anomalies that occur when you start to limit stuff or compress stuff, or whatever you're going to do to change audio. You're going to create transients and limits and strange anomalies and things that happen within the audio. You won't necessarily hear them in real life, but the machines hear it, and it makes it nicer and smoother for the listener in the end. I think I'm pretty... Screen size. One more thing, yeah. Where was we with screen size now? Here. This is quite good. You can have small and on medium. You can't have large. I think that's one of the differences between the actual desktop version. It won't go full screen, obviously, but you don't really need it on an iPad, do you? Small just makes it like smaller, and this is a good one, right? Compact takes away the actual graphical part, and just gives you the actual metering section, which is very nice because you can still see what's going on. Okay, one more thing is let's go to medium again. One more thing is the way that your metering works. You can have momentary, short-term, or integrated. Okay, again, this is going to be a completely personal preference to you and will not make any difference to your sound whatsoever. So let's have a look at the three differences. I quite like momentary. Short-term's okay. Integrated's good. It kind of gives you a range of what it's done. Let's go. So we'll start with momentary, which you can see. Let's go with short term. It's a bit slower, And integrated. Reset it here. Momentary gives you basically what's going on right now, so I quite like. Yeah, so that's it, guys. Basically, it's a very easy limiter to use. It takes the hard work out of getting the actual levels that you want from a limiter out the way. So it basically allows you to work. It looks nice. The most important thing is the metering now, and true peak limiting. Unbelievably useful for what is the world standards of streaming services now. Anyway, thank you for watching. There'll be links in the description for Auria Pro. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, or consider becoming a Patreon. I will see you guys later.